Man, I sure miss paying $14 for a drink and a small popcorn.
Would you be willing to trace all of this?
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today is a very exciting day. Right now I am in the parking lot for one of my local movie theaters, and the theaters are officially open. This one's been open, I think, for like a week or two, showing some like classic, movies and stuff like that. But I got tickets for the 7 p.m. showing of the New Mutants. So this is going to be the first new release that at least I've seen, I want to say, since at least March. If not, it might be actually like end of like February. So I'm really excited to get back into the theater. It's been such a long time. I love this place. Nothing beats like the theater experience. I'm sure it's going to be different. I'm going to try and show you guys as much as I can, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts on the movie. Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. So today is the day that we finally get to see the New Mutants. It seems like this movie has sort of turned into like a myth of sorts, where it's like, we were never going to actually see it. It was just something that people kind of talked about, but no, we are finally here. The day has come. Some theaters have opened back up. I know my local one that I went to, that you guys see in this video, they've been open. They've been showing kind of older stuff, but this is like the first day that like a new film has like actually come out, and it's the New Mutants. So I thought for sure something was going to happen and we weren't going to be able to see this, but I got to see it tonight, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. This is going to be a non-spoiler review, so you don't have to worry about that. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the film. So yeah, basically the plot of this film, without going into too much detail, you have this group of new mutants that are being held in this facility while they are kind of discovering their new powers. And soon enough, they discover that this place isn't trying to really help them, and they have to work together to get out before their past catches up with them. So we've seen like a billion different like trailers and stuff for this movie, and one of the things that really intrigued me about this film was just one, it was like characters I wasn't really too familiar with. I'm not a huge like X-Men guy. Just in like comics in general, I will admit to you guys that there's a lot that I could still learn about some of these characters. So sometimes seeing some of these movies is kind of what gets me to dig into the past of some of these different characters. So, that was something that had my intrigue. Also, just being kind of having that horror like blend and horror superhero blend to the movie. That was something that really caught my eye. It's not something that's done like a lot. So I was like, oh, cool. It kind of is blending like two of my favorite like genres of films. So, I was really, really hoping that this was going to be, what I thought it was going to be by the trailers. And we'll go ahead and start off with the things that I did like in this film. So first off, I did like all of the characters. I thought that all the actors, they did a good job. I did like all of them. There was some that really kind of stuck out a little bit more to me. One of them being Ileana, aka Magic. She really stuck out to me. I've always kind of been an Anya Taylor-Joy fan. I've been a fan of her since, like The Witchlight came out. That's where like I first saw her, and ever since then I've pretty much like seen most of her like films, I feel like, that have come out. I've actually got to meet her a couple times, as you guys can see right here is one of the pictures from that. So she's super cool. And I think she just was badass as Magic in this film, and that seems to be kind of the consensus with a lot of people. I also really liked Maisie Williams as Rain Sinclair. I thought that she did a good job as that character, and I really liked the relationship and bond that she ends up forming with Danielle Moonstar. I thought that was probably one of the better parts of like the movie. So as far as like the characters in general, I thought they all did a good job. You did kind of care about them, especially as the movie's kind of getting to the third act. So I thought the characters themselves, the actors, they put on a good performance. I also really thought that, when all these characters, when they you got to see some of their powers and stuff like that, I thought for the most part, it looked pretty good. Again, with some of the characters, some stood out a little bit more. Pretty much the same people that I mentioned before, Rain Sinclair. Her transformation, which you didn't really see a whole lot in the trailer, so I was kind of like, oh, is this going to look like terrible? But no, I thought they didn't show like a whole lot, And but what you could see, I thought they did pretty well. There was definitely CGI, but it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't something that was like, oh my god, this looks awful. And then Ileana Magic, I thought that she was probably the best, like her powers with the sword and everything like that, the little dragon that she has, Lockheed, I believe his name is. I thought that was all super, super cool. So when the characters were in action, that was well done. I even thought that the Demon Bear, which if you guys have seen the trailers, you know that he's in the movie. I won't go into a lot of detail about that, but when he does pop up, and he's not in it a lot, but when he does pop up, I thought that he looked really good. So the effects team did a good job with him. Again, he was like someone that I was kind of worried. I was like, are they going to be able to like pull this off, or is it going to look super cheesy? But no, I thought that when they used him, sparingly, he looked pretty good on screen. All right, guys, but now we are going to get to the parts that I didn't quite like about the movie. So, to start things off, I think the horror elements with this film was something that I was really disappointed in. It just felt to me like really generic at times. Like even like the smiley man and stuff like that you see, in like the trailers. I don't know. It just kind of felt like one of those like generic like PG-13 like horror films, that kind of like stuff. And I really thought that with this movie, with the trailers, that they could have maybe went a little bit darker. I know, and they definitely could have still got like a PG-13 rating. So it's not like they need to go like all like crazy blood, guts, and gore and all that stuff. But I feel like they just didn't push the envelope enough as far as that aspect goes. And that was something that I was really looking forward to with this film. I also feel like the writing in the movie, it was kind of like up and down. Things really didn't kind of like escalate until like the third act. There was some good like moments, like I told you that I liked the characters and stuff, but just some aspects of the story were just kind of like, it wasn't like it was like terrible. Trust me, I've seen a lot of bad movies, and this by no means is like a terrible movie. But there was just like some scenes where I was just kind of like, okay, this is happening, this is fine. Hopefully this like picks up. But by the third act, it does kind of pick up, and there is some really cool like action scenes and stuff in there. It was just really kind of choppy, and that took me out of the film like a little bit for sure. Overall, and I'm sure too with this movie, it was supposed to come out like 3 years ago or something like that. So the movie was probably made like 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a while since this film has come out. So I imagine I would be curious to see what has been cut from this film. I haven't seen like or heard like some of the interviews that the director Josh Boone, I believe that he's done, but I imagine there's probably some deleted scenes when this film kind of almost fell into like a black hole with the whole Fox Disney merger thing and didn't really know what to do with it. Then the pandemic happened, and so I'm sure there's definitely some stuff that was left on like the cutting room floor. But yeah, it was just a little disappointing because I guess some of the elements that I was most looking forward to just didn't live up to that hype for me. But I feel like it's kind of hard with this type of movie where it's like the buildup of like 3 years that it's like, oh, this was like supposed to come out, and when it finally does, it better be a damn good movie, and like it just doesn't quite live up to that level. So overall, like I said, it's not a terrible movie. Just wasn't something that's like amazing. I don't think it's going to be something that I'm going to go back and watch like a bunch. But I would like to see some of these characters, pop back up in the MCU. And I will tell you guys, won't go into details, but I will tell you guys that they do make references, to some other movies tied in with like, the universe, like the X-Men universe, like specifically. And there is no end credit scene, so you don't have to stay around and wait for that. I'll tell you guys that right now. But yeah, overall, as far as the score goes, I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Was really looking forward to it, so especially from the trailers, and was just kind of slightly disappointed with some of the story aspects and how the horror stuff just really didn't stand out for me. But the characters were really cool, so I think it's worth checking out. Maybe if you guys aren't too keen about going to the theaters right now, I know like some of the locations, like some places aren't even open up right now. You could probably wait till this hits streaming or Blu-ray or whatever. But I think it's like at least worth checking out once that comes out, afterwards. It was just so cool to, be back in the theaters. The last film I think that I saw, I want to say it was actually in theaters. I want to say it was like The Invisible Man. I want to say it was back in like February. So it's been a long time. It was kind of weird going back into the building. And just like, there definitely wasn't a lot of people. I think, like, I ended up actually seeing this in IMAX, and there probably was like about like 20 people. But like, with like an IMAX like theater, it's definitely not a lot, because it holds like, a couple like hundred or whatever. So it was different. I had, everyone had their masks like on like in the lobby getting like snacks and stuff. I actually made sure to like download the app, so I was able to buy my popcorn and drink ahead of time, so all they had to do was like scan it, didn't have to give them like card or anything like that. And then there was like, the 6 feet like markings all over the floor and things like that. But I think, this is kind of like the first time that, they've had like a new movie kind of like open up in like the IMAX theater, like especially. So inside the theater itself, everyone was like spread out. I know like when I went to go buy my tickets, I think you had to leave like two seats like in between like everybody. So that was cool that they did that. They didn't have anyone inside the theater, like kind of like monitoring people, because I think you're supposed to basically have your mask on unless you're eating or drinking, which, in movies, it's like myself, I was like eating and drinking a good amount of the movie, so I don't know if that kind of like defeats the purpose, but there wasn't anyone like inside the theater kind of watching that either. So just kind of like what it looked like at my theater. But other than that, I thought, everything went pretty smoothly. Got my tickets in advance, just picked it up from the machine. Again, didn't have to really go to anybody. So overall, the experience just being back in the theater, eating that popcorn, it was really cool. I love the movies. I love the theaters so much. There's nothing like going to the theaters and having that experience, even if it's a movie that's not, maybe not like your favorite film, like this was. It was still really cool just to go back and have that experience again when we haven't been able to see new movies for, several months now. So if you guys have seen the movie, I'm definitely curious to hear what your guys' thoughts were. Have you been anticipating this for the past like couple years, and did it live up to the hype? So definitely let me know down below in the comments. If you guys are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button as well as the bell button next to it, just so that way you do get notifications for all my new videos. I am going to be trying to check out, I'm hoping this weekend, Bill and Ted. I do have a wedding, so we'll see if I can sneak these in, but Bill and Ted, I might just rent that from home. And then I do have tickets to see Tenet. That's going to be on like Monday, so should have a review for that, early, like maybe Monday night, Tuesday, like right around there. So make sure you guys hit subscribe if you are new to the channel. And as always, guys, please make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.